DDT, PCBs, Agent Orange, and GMOs. Most North Americans' food supply has a dangerous link to a dangerous brand, Monsanto. On the lips and in the diet of most North Americans, today over 200,000 people in over 50 countries are taking a stand against the potential food tyranny and control over the world's foods. We're here to stand in solidarity, show our support, and spread the story. My name is Brendan Germain with the Truth to Be Told news team, and this is the March Against Monsanto.
Whether or not you're familiar with genetically modified organisms, or GMOs, there is a rising and almost desperate cry for the halt of their further introduction into the North American food supply. This is not the first patented technology created by industrial chemical giant Monsanto, as they have had a long and illustrious career in the agricultural business since making the concerted effort to switch in 1945. Prior to GMOs, Monsanto had been a topic of conversation for the organic and commercial farmer alike. Longtime producer of herbicides and pesticides, the shift in corporate focus is reflective of a time when the commercial farm was still evolving. Chemicals are, among other things, labor-saving devices. But the time has come that Mother Nature has caught up, and the threat looms ever nearer that a weed or insect will evolve with the resistance to our strongest pesticides. This has the potential to cripple farmers of all kinds and wreak havoc on the North American food supply. This concern is further exacerbated with the crisis of CCD, colony collapse disorder, being experienced by the bee population, also related to popular pesticides containing neonicotinoids. Bees, as well as other affected pollen-spreading insects, are vital for the agriculture industry in that their pollination is a major factor in about a third of what we eat. These same pesticides have been partially banned in several European countries recently, and Canada, having just experienced these sort of mass deaths in Ontario and Quebec bee populations this past year, should be drawing a harder line when it comes to the risk. There are many individuals who are out protesting in the name of their families and children, especially, knowing that they are at the most risk of a Monsanto-fed future. There were others carrying burdens from their home countries. We met a gentleman from Mexico who shared with us some of Monsanto's practices he had witnessed and heard about.
They're spreading the whole, what are they doing? They're spreading all the pesticides.
They basically forced Monsanto to import GMO seeds. And now they've also been accused of spreading these seeds along the roadsides. So they're contaminating farmers' fields with basically monster corn. They're like really weird varieties of corn growing now. It's contaminating their food supply.
So what's the local government
in India,
doing?
they're directly responsible for the suicides of 64,000 farmers a year.
Suicides from what?
Basically what they do is they tell the farmers that their seeds are better, right? And they force them to pay like 4 times what normal seeds cost, and then the farmers go bankrupt because none of their claims are accurate or true.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. That brings us to perhaps the most intimidating factor, Monsanto's business practices. Carrying a patent on a seed and trademarking a product gives Monsanto a lot of power. It doesn't take much for the pollen from their genetically modified plants to travel to other crops and cross-pollinate them, effectively donating the patented genes onto another farmer's field. Monsanto's legal team has made it a focus to crush smaller farmers in countries like Mexico and India when their property is found on the respective farm. Thousands upon thousands of farmers in India were left with nothing after the ensuing legal battle and took to suicide as their only way out. We had the chance to speak with Anjuu, a woman who felt that the plight of the Indian farmers would be her burden to bear today, as she also bore a sign that shared information as well as words of wisdom.
So my name is Anjuu, and I came here today because I feel in my heart I am an activist and I stand up for what I believe in. We all came from a seed and we have germinated and we've become who we are. So for our future generations, we must take care of this, our body, our seed. And we must be the change that we want to see in the world. If 200,000 plus farmers committed suicide in India because Monsanto took the seed away from them or stole it away, they GM'd it, brought it back, resold it to them, and then they are saying your crop will be good, it will be insect-free, etc., etc. Well, that was not the case. So what happened was that when they planted and there was no crop, They had no money, they still owed money to the bank, probably Monsanto. Then the end result was that they had to take their lives because there was no way out. To me, that's Monsanto genocide. I just did not use the word here, but basically that's a killing. Should we accept that? No. Should we stand up? Yes. So I am the change I want to see in the world. We all need to be the change we wish to see in the world. And Mahatma Gandhi was very non-violent in how he did things. There's Mother Teresa, there's Martin Luther King. You name, there's been so many good people in the world. So let's be the good people of the world.
Wonderful.
Right?
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes. I appreciate giving me the opportunity to say something.
We appreciate you taking the time to talk to us.
Canadian Council. These guys did. Oh, it's you guys.
We're a cross-country organization. It's it's over 30 years old, but there's about 70,000 members in the country, over 80 chapters, and we're concerned about democracy, corporate control, the environment, healthcare, and social justice issues, basically.
All the right stuff.
All the right stuff, yeah. It's pretty broad.
Finally, we came across a story a little closer to home as former Northern Saskatchewan farmer Brian Gall shared his experience using Monsanto seed and their policy when the crop failed him.
It's another beautiful day here in Calgary. It's Saturday, May 25th, and I'm here with Johnny Ryder, aka Brian Gall, and we are participating in the March Against Monsanto. Brian, I hear, has actually had an experience with Monsanto personally, and we've asked him to share it for us on camera. Would you?
I farmed in Saskatchewan for a number of years, and I got involved with Monsanto in pre and post emergence. When I had filed a claim as to for germination on behalf of their pre-emergence, I'd got me nowhere.
Okay. So the seeds, the actual product itself, wasn't even living up to the standards they had promised you.
No, and you couldn't justify its costs. The one thing leading into the other, and as you blindfold yourself into thinking you're growing more food, it's just a trap where they just set you up for the fall.
Okay.
I lost my land to corporations that control it now, and had I going back seen, I would have never even thought of using chemical on a yearly basis. I would have staggered my rotation, half and half. Summer, fall, crop. Summer, fall, crop. And stayed away from utopia. This is like they're trying to take control of hemp now. Our federal government's involved with pushing from Monsanto. If we don't stand up, they're the same in one. They're Canadians. They're the Canadian mafia. I have no qualms, and I'll say it. I've seen dogs die behind sprayers in Saskatchewan. I've watched a neighbor, they didn't prove at the time how he did.
Yeah.
He died spraying copper spray.
Really?
He died he went into the house after spraying it several days. And it's just one thing after the other, but now it's in the water. It's if you go into the Lampman and Estevan area, your MS, your cancer, everything is skyrocketing, and it's water.
All around the North Saskatchewan area.
It's chemicals doing it. I know it is. Now, you can hire all the lawyers you want. Of course, when the federal government protects you, what are you going to do? But this kind of demonstration that we're seeing today, we are the government, incidentally.
We are the country.
That's right.
People have the power. We gave it to somebody else, and it's about time we started paying better attention.
That's right.
And that's why we're here at the March Against Monsanto, Saturday, May 25th in Calgary, standing in solidarity with thousands of groups around the world doing the same thing. We deserve to be treated better, and we don't deserve to be lab rats. We're not genetic experiments, and we're not going to stand for it anymore.
No.
This is Johnny Ryder, Brendan Germain, coming to you from the Truth to Be Told news team in downtown Calgary.
The Though, even this dire circumstance isn't the focus for most people. It's GMOs. Whether spliced with the bacteria that makes up the Bt toxin or simply being more herbicide resistant, thus enabling the use of more chemical herbicides, GMOs make it clear that the intent is to sell chemicals, not to provide a safe and reliable food source. A 2009 study titled Failure to Yield was released by the Union of Concerned Scientists. This paper provided evidence on 3 of the most popular GMO crops, and the positive results are marginal. Many of the advances in crop performance are a result of better farming techniques, while using the GMO crop simply allowed them to resist more chemicals used to treat weeds and pests. As Mother Nature catches up, weeds and insects will develop more resistances to particular chemicals, and the industry would be forced to introduce even more toxins into the food supply. Since we were children, we were warned of the dangers of increased readings of dangerous chemicals in the human body, and how they become more toxic at even further increased levels. This is a trend that has not changed course for the last few decades. If this isn't enough to make you think twice and start researching on your own about Monsanto, consider this. When using Monsanto crops, you are subject to seed prices 3 to 4 times more than the average, as well as a lengthy contract that, among other things, entitles Monsanto's inspectors entry onto your land and denies you the right of keeping the seed from the harvest to plant next season. Monsanto is working on a specific batch of Terminator seeds, whose seeds are sterile when the crop is harvested. It is easy to see that Monsanto is creating a monopoly on the food supply, as they also have been buying up seed companies and limiting the biological diversity in the agricultural world, while influencing governments to limit an individual's access and rights to what they wish to eat as food. For those of us around Calgary and across Canada, the threat of GM alfalfa, a major player in the livestock feed business, threatens the ecosystems and farms of Canada. We urge all viewers and readers to contact their MPs and make their opinions heard before it isn't an option, and keep in mind, according to the National Farmers Union, once GM alfalfa takes root, it could be too late. The fight isn't over, and truth to be told, we'll be watching.
Insecticides. But these insecticidal plants, regulated and have their proteins tested for safety, not by the federal government in the United States or Canada. There are no long-term studies performed in these countries to demonstrate that the claims that these engineered corn and soy are safe. All we have is from the scientific studies coming out of Europe and Russia showing that rats fed genetically engineered food die prematurely. Studies show that the proteins produced by these plants are different than what they should be. In Sherbrooke Hospital found that 93% of women and 82% of fetuses tested had this protein pesticide in their blood. I know that there's an issue here, but what can we do about it? I suggest we hit them where it hurts, in the pocketbook. We demand that our government make it mandatory to label GMO ingredients in our food. We want to decide if we're going to be part of this experiment, and we want to vote with our purchasing power. We also demand the immediate moratorium on all GM food production to study its effect on our health. Long-term studies are required. On a personal note, we have a company near our farm in BC that wants to grow GMO apples. Boo! If this apple were to gain approval, the doors to export into most of the markets of the world would be shut, and the industry as a whole would face devastating consequences. There is no need for this product. The majority of both organic and conventional growers have asked that this not be allowed. On behalf of those farmers, I would like to thank you all for coming out today. Thank you very much. I'm going to take a moment here before we hear another song from the Raging Grannies to ask all of you to make today not your only day of working on this issue. This issue is going to carry on in the days and weeks and months and years ahead, and we have to stick at it. If we stick at it, then the generations that come after us won't have to fight this fight. So if you're not already connected through things like Facebook or Twitter or wherever else we're connecting with that stuff locally, please check out the website activist.ca, which has a calendar of events like this today. and make sure that you stay connected and stay involved. And being involved doesn't just mean protesting. It can be writing letters. It can be talking to your friends and neighbors. It can be organizing documentary nights. It can be honking your horn. It can be many things, but keep the movement going.